The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into a Friday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you, and it is the first Friday of March, and we're marching right along into it as we have plenty of tournament games to not only recap but preview over the weekend, and we have another girls basketball team one win away from going to state, and that is the Springfield Tigers. Let's talk about this game first in the regional semifinals. Springfield went down to Maslin Perry High School, the home of the Panthers. A beautiful gym, by the way. If you've never been down there, it is an experience. You got the lower level that has the old school gym feel with the wooden bleachers, but then it has a little bit of a, it's not a new school flair, but the big atmosphere flair with the upper level, a track that goes all the way around the floor, and then the upper level bleachers as well. So you really get kind of that big tournament atmosphere with the old school vibe. It's a lot like Cuyahoga Falls in that sense, where it's an old school gym, but it's big enough and it has the double deck bleachers that give you that tournament stadium atmosphere. I think Maslin Perry is a great place to watch basketball. Not a great place to sit in that baseline and take pictures. That's a hot place. They have those. It's like a lowered like crevice or cavern in the baseline for Perry, and they have these hot LED lights, right above you. So it's a lowered ceiling, and it's this beaming down heat right at you. I'm sure all of our fellow media members that were camped out there can attest to it. It is not a place where you wear a jacket. It is like t-shirt, and maybe if you're up for it, if you can weather the 40-degree short weather, it might be a short kind of gym for you too. If you're of the people that are going to be camped out in that baseline, most of the media members that aren't broadcasting. Noah Doty had the sweet life. He was up there in the balcony broadcasting in the nice cool track. But the media members down below on the court side, ooh, it gets hot. But anyway, back to the game. Regional semifinals, and the Tigers come out again with another fourth quarter deficit comeback victory. It was 44-33, and I know when you hear that final score, you're thinking, well, it couldn't have been that big of a deficit. I mean, if you win by 11, you're not being dominated most of the game, right? Well, the Tigers were really struggling on offense until that fourth quarter. You look at it, they were down by 3 in the first, 9-3. And then they were down by 5 after halftime, 23-18. So you could see Dalton starting to take little chunks of leads. Like they were winning the first and second quarter by a little bit, right? They were just kind of keeping pace. Tigers keeping pace. Jamaica Brungard's first half is going to go overshadowed because she made enough plays in that first half to keep the Tigers in it. They were struggling from a lot of places on the floor. Shots weren't falling from outside the paint. Jamaica Brungard made enough plays in that first half to kind of keep the Tigers afloat. And of course, their defense never let Dalton really run away with it. But it was 23-18 at halftime. And then the third quarter was the one where I felt like the Bulldogs probably felt like on their bench, well, we have control of this game now. 29-21 was the score after 3. So they're once again, they take that lead up a couple of points, but now it's an 8-point lead. Dalton sitting there feeling like they're playing really good defense. And I was talking to some people between the quarters, and I'm telling you, 8 points, the way that game was flowing, 8 points felt like it was going to be, 15 or 20 points. The way the defense was playing for Dalton, the way that Springfield just couldn't get shots to fall. Early in the fourth quarter, though, Matty Lesnack hit a three, and I believe it was the first three of the game for the Tigers. They shot a couple. They weren't pulling the trigger from three a ton. But they shot a couple. They weren't going in, and Matty Lesnack hit a three early in the fourth quarter. And it felt like seeing something go in kind of relaxed the Tigers a little bit. And then once again, just like that Southern game back in the district semifinals, if your memory serves you, Tigers put on a press, like a full court, we got to go press. And at that point in the game, it felt like that gave the Tigers energy. They were starting to lock down on defense. Dalton really couldn't get through the pressure. It was almost like doing that in the Southern game and in this game just sparked not just the defense to really play ultra shutdown basketball, but also sparked the offense to get some easy, fast break layups up for turnovers and then just do work inside like they always do. Um, all of Manny Lesnack's 8 points came in the fourth quarter, so she stepped up big as a senior. JC Mullen also made a lot of points in the fourth quarter. She led with 17 points. Brungard had 12 in this game, so you had 17, 12, and 8. That's a pretty good balance between your three top scorers. And then Mariana Toscano had a good fourth quarter as well. Got to the free throw line a couple of times, hit a little mid-range jump shot. So these players, they're turning into a fourth quarter team. They didn't have a lot of fourth quarter deficits during the regular season. They went undefeated in the MVAC, and they kind of dusted off all their league opponents. Their closest game, I think, was Waterloo a couple of times. So they didn't really have too many fourth quarter deficits that they had to come back from, or that they did come back from, I should say, in the regular season. But man, the last two of the last three tournament games, they've had to come back from a fourth quarter deficit, and they did so emphatically last night. Check this out. Fourth quarter, Tigers won that 23-4 was the fourth quarter breakdown of points. They scored more points in the fourth quarter, the Tigers did, than they did the first three. That's something. To do that in a regional semifinal stage is so impressive. Like, to just turn on, like, we're dominating this game, and then all of a sudden they won by 11. I mean, they won a game by 11 that they were trailing by 8 at the end of three quarters. You don't see that. It was just so fun to watch. And obviously, the Springfield community showed up, and once you felt the Tigers get a little bit of momentum, the crowd was in it. They erupted. It was loud. I felt like that rattled Dalton a little bit. And I think the other thing that rattled Dalton a little bit, and maybe this is true, maybe this isn't, but Dalton has gotten there so many times to regionals. They are a hallmark program that just gets there, but they haven't been able to punch through. And I felt like maybe these players were like, this is finally our time. We have an 8-point lead, where we're playing really good defense. We're playing really well. This is finally our time. And then once that uncertainty started to kick in, Springfield started to fight back. They tie up the game at 30. And then crunch time came about, and Springfield was just a more composed team down the stretch. Obviously, 23-4, you're definitely the more composed team. Dalton just kind of ran out of that gas. They didn't have it anymore, and it was super impressive. Springfield absolutely earned that victory. Talking to Coach Matizzi after the game, he's like, hey, we're starting to turn into a fourth quarter team. I can't deny it. And one of the big decisions he had to make as a coach and the coaching staff was whether or not to keep JC Mullen in the game. 5 or 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, she picked up her fourth foul. And that's your leading scorer. That's your heartbeat of the team. So you don't want her to foul out with 5 minutes left in the game, because that would have been detrimental. They were starting to come back a little bit. They started to have a little bit of momentum. But you don't want to take her off the floor. She is, like, when she is on the floor, this Tigers team is a completely different animal. No pun intended. So it was a really, talking to Coach Matizzi, it wasn't a tough decision. He said there was never even a discussion about taking her out of the game. He had complete trust in his senior to go out there and stay aggressive, but be smart. And that's what she did. She did not foul out of this game. She played with 4 fouls for the last, 6 minutes and change, and to do that as a senior, that was just ultimate senior leadership. I hope the young players on that team took notes that like this is what we do when we're in trouble time, and that's how you play with 4 fouls. It's one of the things that you have to do to be a high level basketball player. It's going to pop up again in her career. It's going to pop up again if she goes out and plays in college. You're going to play with 4 fouls. It's going to happen. It happens. But you're so important to your team, you cannot be taken off the floor, and you have to go play with 4 fouls. And JC Mullen understood that. I bet she's been in that situation before, playing in so many games, whether it be in AAU or at Springfield, her career at Springfield. Been there before, right? Big players, big plays, big situations. I don't think JC Mullen understands what kind of impact he's made for Springfield basketball. I mean, you look at it, 1,000 points as a junior. Now she's the program's all-time leading scorer in boys and girls basketball, and she shined bright on the regional stage. That's what your superstars have to do. And then when you have balance that helps her out, 12 points from Brungard, 8 from Lesnack, all 8 of those come in the fourth quarter. You got a recipe for a pretty good team. Now the Tigers are going to go up against Buckeye Central, which is the team that beat them last year in the regional semifinal. That might be a cause for a lot of fans to be like, oh man, but Coach Battisti was pretty optimistic about it. He was saying like, no matter he obviously they played first, so his post-game interview was between the Springfield and the Western Reserve game, so he didn't know the result yet. So he said, no matter who wins this game, we're pretty familiar. We played this Buckeye Central team last year who didn't lose a lot. They return a lot of their roster, so the scouting report is pretty much, it doesn't change too much. Yes, there are changes. I'm not saying they're like the carbon copy, boom, boom. Excuse me. you can't copy and paste the scouting report from last year, but it's a team that you're familiar with, a team that excuse me, a team that their style of basketball. So Coach Battisti pretty optimistic. He's at least about the 1 day turnaround. They have today to practice. They play tomorrow. So now we'll transition real quick. We'll talk about the Buckeye Central Western Reserve game. This was you knew coming in it was going to be a tough mountain to climb for Western Reserve. I think you knew that they were going to have to play a defensive game, and they actually played really good defense. Like this was for Western Reserve to win this game, they were going to have to keep it in the 30s, and they gave up 41. So I think Coach Miller got to be really happy with the defense he played. They played really good defense all year, and I would argue that eight of those 41 points came in the quote unquote garbage time where it was the game was decided. There was an incentive to play super lockdown defense anymore. You could tell that the Western Reserve wasn't rotating like completely. They gave up some open shots. I think one girl hit like back-to-back threes, something like that. So as a defense in the flow of the game, when there was still a competitive kind of atmosphere to the game, Western Reserve probably gave up like 33. It would be my guess. But Buckeye Central, their defense was just unbelievably suffocating. Man-to-man defense. They came in, I think they knew. I mean, they had to have known that Western Reserve was down a couple players, and that Brooke Shantz was going to be the one that they had to lean on for offense because they stuck to Brooke Shantz like glue. It was just like, you are not getting any space. She never got any kind of space. The threes that she put up were highly contested. Her drives were tough. She did put up some shots, but none of them were easy. They were all hard finishes, trying to go around some bodies, trying to throw the ball up there. It did not really work. Their best offense for Western Reserve came from Angelina Campabianca shooting from outside. She hit 3 threes, finished with a team high 9. That was their biggest contribution from the offense. And then Olivia Hughes kind of got a little bit of rhythm in the second half. But outside of that, like Western Reserve, they just couldn't find an offensive rhythm. They couldn't find any kind of space against this man-to-man defense that Buckeye Central was playing locked down. They tried to run a lot of motion, but there was a lot of times where I felt like their offense was a little bit stagnant. Like that's called motion for a reason, right? You have to be able to move. And I feel like they got caught just kind of flat-footed a little bit, standing around. And when you're playing a defense like Buckeye Central and you're not, moving without the basketball, that can be a really, really tough situation. And, a lot of people are looking and saying, well, you got to get better in the offseason at just, skill. Like you got to have the ability to score. And I think that's true. I think they have some players that can score off the dribble for sure. But I think what they have to get better at, and this is just me watching them, and I've seen a couple of their games, and I'm thinking about the players that are going to be coming back next year, so excluding their seniors. They have to get, I think, one of the underappreciated things about basketball, and what makes a team good is how good are you at getting open without the ball? How good are you moving without the basketball? And I know that sounds kind of silly. Well, all you have to do is move. But there are a lot of teams, and Western Reserve is one of them, that when they get into offensive trouble and you watch them on tape, it's like, well, they're not moving without the ball. They're kind of finding a spot and they're kind of standing there watching. And I guess it's easy to get caught up in that. It's easy to kind of forget that you have to constantly be moving. But yeah, Western Reserve gets in these states where they're not constantly moving. And I think that's going to be one of the things that Coach Miller focuses on in the offseason. He was talking in his post-game interview about, his defense is right where it wants to be, and they're returning a lot of great members to that defense next year. He fully expects them to be a very good defense next year, just like they were this year. They're just going to try to score more, right? They're going to have to try to get better on the offensive end of the ball. And my thing, and I'm not a coach, and I haven't watched Western Reserve in every single game they've played. I've only seen 4 or 5 of their games all season. But I see, like, learning the ins and outs of the offense, like moving without the ball, understanding why you're moving here. Because you can't execute a play without understanding why that play is going to work, right? So I think basketball IQ and understanding why the execution is so important in a set play is going to be a big thing that the West Reserve really focuses on this summer when they're preparing for next season. But we do have to bid them adieu. It's a great season for Western Reserve, a great run. They lost 2 starters before into the tournament. Matty Leone, tough one in the last game of the season, and then, man, Lenny Jones, you got to feel for her. Another ACL tear. It's rough. It's rough. Both of them seniors, neither one of them coming back. That's a tough way to end your season for those two. We congratulate them for all the hard work they've done for the program, obviously, over 4 years. But it's a tough way to finish, that's for sure. But we tip our hat to Western Reserve. They probably weren't supposed to be in the regional semifinals this year. You lose 2 of your starters, you're probably not going to win a lot of districts. But Western Reserve, kind of next man up mentality. They played a great district championship game against Badger, a team that was on a huge hot streak, and they got to the regional semifinals. And I think for the most of that game, even though they weren't scoring, it stayed competitive, as far as they never let Buckeye Central run away with it. It was never a 25-point blowout where you're like, well, this is over. Not until about the third quarter when Buckeye Central really started to pick up a little bit. And when I say picked up a little bit, I mean they scored 15 points in a quarter. I mean, that it wasn't like an offensive explosion like Springfield in the fourth, but it was just, okay, we scored enough to put this game out of reach. And then Western Reserve scored 4 in the third. So it was a 15-4 third quarter that made it 30-11 after 3. But it was 15-7 at halftime. So you kind of felt going into halftime like, if Reserve can find a way to hit a switch, then, somehow they can get back in this game. They're playing good defense. You really thought that Campa Bianca hit her first 3 of the day right before halftime. You thought that might give them some boost, but I think Buckeye Central came out on a 7-0 run, made it 21-7, and at that point it was just, you could tell it was just one of those. It wasn't going to be the night that the Blue Devils wanted to be. So, congratulations to a great season for Western Reserve. We wish you the best in your spring sports if you're going on to play spring sports, and if you're not, we wish you the best of luck in your off season. And for the ones returning, we can't wait to see you again next year. And for the ones that are not returning, your seniors, Best of luck in the future. They've been extremely fun to watch. Brooke Shantz, especially one of the best players that we've seen in the area. So you bid her to a great season and great career. 9 points short of 1,000. So right there, right at that 1,000-point mark. Just fell a little bit short of it, but that's nothing to be ashamed of. You still have 991 points in your career, and I know everyone wants that 1,000-point milestone because it's nice and it's even, and you get the big celebration. But um, it's a glaring reminder that it's tough, right? Um, we've come to kind of, I think, overshadow 1,000 points because it happens a little bit more often in the last couple of years than it did maybe 5 or 6 years ago. We're starting to see players get it because I think it's because players are becoming more capable of impacting their team freshman year. So they're getting more years on varsity level. So more opportunities to score and more opportunities to score 1,000 points. But getting to 1,000 is tough. Like that's not easy. You still have to average double figures in your career. And so it's a good accomplishment to even flirt with 1,000 points. I know everyone wants it, and that's a great goal to set. But even to flirt with 1,000 points is a tough thing to do. So congratulations to her and the other seniors for Western Reserve on a great career. And once again, to the underclassmen that are going to be coming back next year, we can't see what you have in store for us. Western Reserve has been to 5 of the last 10 regional semifinals. So they're a program that has been consistent over a decade. At least consistent enough that they're always in that conversation. They could win the districts. They're going to be in the district conversation. They're going to give themselves chances to win a district. So we'll see them again next year. I have no doubt about that. And we'll see what they have to bring. Let's head over to the boys' side. We had some good boys' games go on last night as well. 2 overtime games. One of them went to Ysn's way. One of them did not. Let's start with the positive overtime game. Cheney gets to win 84-76 in an offensive shootout against Alliance. Both these teams really talented basketball players that can score wherever they want on the floor. That was pretty apparent. And Cheney gets to win, though, in OT, 84-76. Cheney will move on to play Canfield in the district championship. You know anything about that? Like Cheney Canfield, that's turning into a cross sport rivalry now, and it's going to be interesting to see how those teams go at each other coming up on Saturday, tomorrow, I should say. The other overtime game that did not go our way, unfortunately, on the boys' side was Girard. They had an 8-point fourth quarter lead, but unfortunately for them, Gilmore Academy was up for the task. They outscored the Indians 18-10 in the fourth quarter to tie up the game at 50 at the end of regulation, and then they would go on to win overtime 11-5 and win 61-55 over Girard. I've been high on Girard all year, and I haven't hid that. I actually thought they'd win this game, and I thought they would go on to really compete in the district championship. I was very believed in Girard, and this doesn't change that. Like, this happens. It's an overtime battle with a good team, and they led for most of the game. Like, it was one of those basketball games where you just kind of lose focus a little bit in the fourth quarter, and I guess that's kind of an epitome of their season, unfortunately, where they were there, and then just right before the finish line, they just could not get that gas to keep going. They couldn't get that coup d'etat per se, I guess you would say. For those of you that, I hope you know that. I'm not going to go into that reference, but if you know what that is, then they couldn't get that coup d'etat to really stamp the victory. Gilmore Academy battled back from a deficit. Thomas Cardero, though, great game for him. 22 points to lead the Indians. It just wasn't enough. 22 points for him. 61-55. Gilmore Academy wins in overtime. They will play Ursuline in the district championship game on Saturday as well. Some other boys' scores from last night. Louisville lost a heartbreaker to Jesuit, 49-48. Louisville had the chance down the stretch, the couple of last-second possessions. And when it comes down to last-second possessions, It's either going to go your way or it's not. Like, you can't magnify the game and say, well, we lost because this, every time a game comes down to the last play, fans, especially us fans, and I do say we're fans. I know we're on a media show right now, and we're kind of technically members of the media, but we're fans. Like, we're fans of these teams. We tend to magnify that last play and make it feel like it came down to that last play, right? But we know that in every sport, there's probably 6 or 7 different plays that really turned the game or shifted the momentum or anything like that. So not going to harp on that last second possession too long, but it didn't go Louisville's way, and they fall 49-48 to Walsh Jesuit, and they will end their incredible season, and some incredible players have to say goodbye to that Louisville Blue. So we congratulate them on a great career, and we hope that to the ones that like I said with Western Reserve, the ones that come back, we'll see you in next season, and we know you're going to continue to do great things. Tom Siegfried is a real one, and he will always have that program doing great things. Let's move on to the last boys game that was last night. And we go to Hoban, who was not messing around at all against Glen Oak. 81-46. Hoban just absolutely dominates this game. And they will play Brush. Hoban's got a really good chance. Brush, upset St. Vincent St. Mary. And I'm not going to take anything away from Brush. They're a very good basketball team. But now Hoban's looking at this whole state scope, and I think everyone assumed they were on a collision course with St. V's. St. V's is out. So now here comes Hoban. Who's going to stop them now going to state? I don't know. It's gonna be a fun ride, but Hoban looks really, really good right now. And that was a Glen Oak team that beat Fitch in the game before. Looks really good in that victory, and Hoban made them silly. This 81-46, an absolute domination that you don't normally see out of this level. Like, you don't usually see once you get into district semifinal, district championships, regionals. You don't see a lot of huge blowouts, right? But this one, the Knights, slow down, man. Slow down. 81-46. Hoban gets to win. They move on. We do have interviews to get to today, so we're gonna kind of put a stop to our recaps. We're gonna go to our interviews that we have for you today, and then we will come back and preview the night and the weekend of basketball that is going to be on the network. So first, let's hear from a South Range point guard who is going to be playing in a district championship tonight in Warren Harding. It is Nate Lewis running the show in South Range, and let's hear what he had to say about his season and what are some of the things that make this South Range team so special this year and such able to turn that ship right around like they did so much. So here's Nate Lewis from South Range Basketball. Anthony Hartwig with a South Range boys basketball player profile ahead of their district semifinals tomorrow night. I'm joined by Nate Lewis. Nate, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And this year has been a whirlwind for you guys. Let's start at first, start of the season. Tough start. You guys start 0-5. And you have kind of a team meeting, to kind of come together and turn around after that. What were some of the things inside the locker room that were said between you guys that really helped turn this season around after a tough start?
I mean, we just all said that we need to stick together and, stay as a team. I mean, we can't fall apart. Can't lose our chemistry with each other.
You guys were getting some football players that were coming off of a state championship run, pretty important players to your group. How much was that trying to be keeping that in perspective where you understood that they were not in basketball shape yet and they had to kind of get back into the groove of basketball after a long football season?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the season, the first, I think 3 or 4 games, we only had maybe 5 practices of everybody there, everybody going full go. I mean, not everybody was in shape. We just weren't 100% in basketball mode yet.
In that turnaround, was there a point, maybe a game or a point in a game where you guys really got confident and really realized that you could turn this around and it was going to be a special season?
I I think a lot of people doubted us going into the season as 0, we were 0-5 at the beginning, and then I really think that the Louisville game really helped us after beating an undefeated team. I mean, that just gives you a boost of confidence already.
Like you said, there were a lot of people that doubted you, a lot of people that wrote you off. How did this team not let that ooze into the locker room and stay confident in themselves and realize that you still could do something special?
I really think that like in practice, like we always went hard in practice. We compete every day in practice with each other. I think that helped a lot because we knew what we were capable of doing.
You go through this NE8. It's a brutal schedule, especially this year. It seemed like every team proved at some point in the season that they could beat anybody in the league. What was it like going through that league and realizing that there was no nights off and you had to give everybody the respect they deserved?
It was real tough, especially with our league and how everything got scheduled out. I mean, we were playing 3 games a week for like 3 weeks in a row. We were tired, but we knew every night that we had to go give it our all or else we weren't going to win the game.
You guys are 8-0 this year in one possession games, and it seems like every time that comes down to the stretch, comes down to a close game, you guys are the ones that are able to make clutch plays. What do you factor that to? What makes this team so much able to make the clutch plays down the stretch of close games?
Honestly, I really think that it's just because none of us like to lose. I mean, after Salem, we were all mad that we lost. I mean, every game that we lost, you could just see it in everybody's face that like, man, we wish we could go back and try again.
You had a game-winning shot. It seems like a lot of people have had game-winning shots. What's that feeling like to be able to put that final nail in the coffin?
It's awesome. I mean, it's a dream come true, really. It's just the feeling when it leaves your hand of like, is it going to go in? Is it not? It's a crazy feeling, and it went in. So,
with all that craziness of the season and all the one possession games you guys have won and the buzzer beaters, a lot of people like forget about the defense you guys do play, and it was on full display in the sectional final against United. How much pride does this team take in their defense and the fact that they're able to hold a lot of teams below their season average?
I mean, I would really say that like that's a big part of our wins. I mean, we play really hard defense, and honestly, our defense starts our offense. Like if we're in a tough like couple possessions where we can't score, normally a defensive stop gets us into a bucket.
Coach Irons came into this program while you guys were in a tough spot and stepped up for you guys. Obviously, he's been in this program for a long time. He knows you guys. What did that mean to you to have someone you trust and someone that you know kind of step into that role and to be there for you guys when you guys needed somebody?
Yeah, he's always been around from when we were little. They'd always be doing the camps in the summer and stuff. I think it really helped us. Just like we didn't have a new guy, like it's somebody that we knew. So I think it really helped us like just be able to get right back into it and keep playing and not have to rebuild any trust or anything because we all already trusted him.
You guys have a really good senior leader at Ada Leon, but after that, there's no other seniors. So a lot of non-seniors, including yourself, have had to step up and lead. What has that been like to kind of learn leadership skills before your senior year and to be a leader of this team before a lot of people are called to?
Yeah, I think Aiden's done a great job. I mean, really been a role model to everybody on the team, always working hard. I think he really makes it easy for the rest of us to step up and take a place in the leadership role.
You're a natural leader as the point guard. You have to be a leader on the court. What's that been like to kind of fall into that role and to run the offense and try to get everybody in the right positions?
Yeah, I really think like my teammates help me out so much with that. We go over the plays a lot in practice and stuff, so everybody knows where to be, and I just got to get them the ball.
You've proven a lot this year that you can score when you have to. You have the ability to go and score. But I think you probably sacrifice 5 or 6 points per game to distribute the ball and get it to better shots. What has that been like to be the guy that sets the example of unselfishness and really sacrifices for the team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like always not been hard for me to give up a shot for an extra pass to Luke or Turvey or to dish it inside to Aiden or Lenny. I just think that whatever's going to help the team win, I need to do.
We've talked about it before in post-game interviews and whatnot. This team has gotten really close, and you trust each other with everything. What's that been like to be in a locker room where there's so much bond and there's so much trust between you guys, and it's really a brotherhood? You know, a lot of teams say that, but you guys live it. What's that been like for you?
I mean, it just makes it so much easier to go in and go to practice and be able to go hang out with them. Really, like, we don't look at it as practice. We look at it as time to like have fun and hang out and stuff. And so it makes it so much easier.
That being said, I mean, these tournaments are there are opportunities to go earn more time to hang out with your teammates. How hungry does that make you to just not want to that time to end with your team?
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday. Really, I like we don't have anybody who doesn't want to keep playing. I mean, everybody just wants to keep playing, and everybody hates losing. So I think it really helps us keep moving on and winning.
You guys had a big layover between the end of the regular season and your tournament game. What were some of the things that you did personally to keep yourself kind of engaged and focused and ready to go despite having 10 days off between games?
Yeah, I tried to work extra hard in practice to keep up the stamina and stuff. I was going home and getting in my hot tub, trying to keep myself like all good and loose. And even like outside of practice, like me and my buddies would go to like the parks and play basketball or go to somebody's house and play. So we were never like really having a full break.
To the eye, it looked like you guys had absolutely no rust getting back on the floor to start that sectional final. Did you feel that too? That there was really no rust, there was no kind of lull or drop period between the 10 days?
Yeah, I think we came out as that might have been one of our best starts of the year. We had a little lull after halftime. I think we had 3 turnovers in our first 3 possessions at a halftime. But other than that, I think we moved the ball real well and didn't have any problem scoring.
That little lull ended with an Aiden Leone steal and a dunk on the other end. I mean, to see Aiden Leone, the senior, be the first South Range Raider to dunk in that gym and to him to do it his last home game, I mean, what kind of energy did that really give this team to get out of that little funk that you were in?
Oh, it was awesome. We were all waiting for it to happen. He was dunking every day in practice, and we were all just waiting for him to get a chance to do it in a game.
As soon as that, like the steal happened, the loose ball, did you see it coming? Did you here it comes?
Yeah, I forget which one of my teammates it was, but we were sitting in half court, and somebody said he's gonna dunk it, and I was like, "Yeah, he is."
Yeah, he is. This Raider community has supported you guys through the bad and through the good this year. What's it mean to come to every game, whether it be a Friday or Tuesday, and know that at least that side of the gym is going to be pretty packed?
Yeah, it's awesome. I think it really helps us in some nights where maybe we're all a little bit tired or sluggish from school. I think having them there to hype us up and get us ready for the game really helps.
The other thing I noticed when I look at the South Range crowd, there are a lot of faculty members that come out after a long day of teaching and support you guys as well. What's that mean to you to know that you're in a school system where the teachers and faculty staff care enough about their kids that they're going to, take time out of their personal lives to go support you in a basketball game?
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Like, it just shows how much all these teachers and stuff here care about us, like not just in school, but also outside of school, and to see that we're doing good.
All right, so you've said before that you hate to lose. Obviously, you're a great competitor. Outside of basketball, kind of what are some other things that you get real competitive at?
I really anything I'm doing, I'm gonna be competitive about. I go riding with my dad and his friends, and it's always like competitive, who can do stuff better and all that.
What do you think is the silliest thing you've turned into a competition?
The silliest thing, huh? I honestly don't know. Me and my friends, all of us are so competitive. Really, we turn everything into a competition.
What about the study games that teachers always like to do right before a test? You're
Uh,
doing those. How competitive do those get? Because in my day at South Range, man, those got heated.
yeah, in math class, we always have some heated games in there. Luke's in there, Jimmy's in there. Yeah, we always get pretty competitive in there.
What are some fun in the team competitions that you guys might have in practice to keep the team competition going to keep your competitive juices going in practice? What kind of things do the team compete in?
We do all types of competitive shooting drills and free throw drills. Before practice, sometimes the players will start like a dribble knockout game, and sometimes we'll play bank and stuff like that.
You have to come from a competitive family to be as competitive as you are. Who's the most competitive person that is in your household?
In my household, it's probably got to be my dad, but in my family, I'm cousins with JC Mullen,
Mhm.
so they're all real competitive over there too. Stuff like that.
And you're both still playing. What's that like to have ballers in the family that you can go and support and then come support you?
It's awesome. They've been to most of my games. I try to make it out to her games as much as I can, her and Kara. But yeah, it's awesome to just be able to look up into the stands and see my family there.
What are some? Have you guys ever competed against each other? Have there ever been any Mullen versus Lewis one-on-ones?
It happens
It
sometimes.
happens.
Normally
Uh,
I'll beat her, but Kara, I can never beat her.
it's also Springfield South Range. That's got to add a little bit to it, right?
Yeah, we always make fun of each other at the houses and stuff about it.
When you think about some of the things that you've learned along the way, some of the lessons that you've learned through basketball, what do you think are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in your career through this sport?
I really think that just like the passion to like not want to lose, not want to give up, just to work hard at everything, and you can really see what kind of outcome that can have.
The lessons come with advice that you've gotten over the years too. What's some of the biggest advice that you've gotten from one of your role models throughout your career?
Um, One of my biggest role models was definitely one of my AU coaches, Tom Shapiro. He would always say, "Shoot or shoot." On one year on his AU team, I had like the biggest slump that I've ever had, and he just kept encouraging me to shoot and shoot, and I think that really helped me out.
All right, when basketball season is over and you have to tie up the jersey for the next couple months, what kind of things do you do outside the sport to keep yourself busy?
I do a lot. I fish a lot. I do some riding, some four wheelers and dirt bikes. I hang out with my friends a lot, whether we're at somebody's house playing basketball or driving around and just hanging out.
What's the biggest fish you've ever caught?
On Lake Erie, I caught a 36-inch, 10-pound walleye.
There you go, man. I hope you
Yeah.
took a picture of that one.
Oh, yeah.
Nate, before we let you go, I want to give you the chance to shout out your support system, all the people that kind of show up there for you and the people that you wouldn't be on this journey without.
Yeah, both of my parents have supported me forever. My grandparents, all my friends and parents' friends and stuff all support me so much.
Nate, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We wish you the best of luck in that district semifinal tomorrow night in Warren Harding, and we hope to talk to you again real soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
That is a rookie mistake. I apologize. Muted myself during the interview. Forgot to unmute myself when I came back. Oops. But now we're back. Welcome to a Friday. Ooh, thank God it's Friday, right? But that is Nate Lewis, the point guard from South Range, who is leading his team to a battle with mighty Lutheran East tonight in the district championship. South Range trying to win their first district championship in program history. Opposite end of the spectrum for Lutheran East, as they are trying to win their 7th consecutive district championship. They've won every district championship dating back to 2016, and they've won 5 consecutive regional championships. So, this team's good. They also won a state championship back in 2021, 2017. They're ranked 1 in the state in Division 3. They're ranked 5 in Ohio, in Northeast Ohio, throughout all divisions. 15-5 overall. They play a tough schedule. It's gonna be a tough game, right, for the Raiders. But if you don't believe they can do it, you haven't watched basketball this year, right? We've seen a lot of things we wouldn't necessarily expect out of this tournament so far this year. It's going to be a wild one. If South Range pulls off that win, then I think the whole city of Canfield would erupt. I mean, imagine what could happen tonight. South Range would beat Lutheran East for a district championship, and Canfield, the girls, would punch their ticket to state. That would be an awesome night for the city of Canfield. They dubbed it the City of Champions during football season for a reason. Canfield and South Range both won state. Could we see a repeat tonight of the City of Champions? Who knows? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more Running Point on YSN.
Hi, this is Zell Bush.
Hi, this is Tom Clint.
Hi, this is Steve Versetto.
Hi, this is Ryan Miller.
Hi, this is Rich Sakui from WRS Wealth Advisors.
With our combined 80 years of experience,
WRS Wealth Advisors are the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists.
Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services.
Or visit WRSwealth.com.
Go Raiders.
Go Dogs.
Go Cats.
Go Dogs. Go Tigers.
Jimmy Sudman here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and 2 of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Reliability, innovation, scale. These 3 values are those we look forward to in our business and in our team. If you're ready for a reliable employer who looks constantly to think outside the box in big ways, we're ready for you. Apply now. Help us push the envelope and deliver success. Envelope 1. Take that one extra step.
Winter, spring, summer, and fall. Mill Creek Metro Parks is your park for all seasons. Make a memory in the park. Plan your visit today at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, and we try to do the same here on this show every single day. We appreciate their constant support of YSN and sponsorship of Running Point. If you are in the need of a used or new car, make sure to head on over to Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They will treat you right. No one will treat you better. And we thank them once again for their constant support. Let's transition. We've talked about last night's games. We've heard a great interview from Nate Lewis, the point guard of South Range, who are playing in the district championship tonight against Lutheran East at Warren Harding. So with that, let's segue into talking about the other games that are happening, not just tonight, but over the weekend on Saturday as well. We got some big stakes, some district championships on the boys' side, some regional championships on the girls' side. We'll start with the regionals and go into the regional championship tonight. Canfield will play Northwest, Canal Fulton Northwest, the Indians. They will be in Barberton in the Purple Palace. I'll be there for the call at 7 o'clock is your tip-off time. Canfield got the win on Tuesday to get themselves to this point. They were able to beat Marlington after a really fast start. They had to hold off a Marlington team late, but they were able to win that. I don't want to say comfortably, but it wasn't like one of those games that came down to the wire down the stretch. Different story for Northwest, right? They were not leading wire to wire. Canfield led from the start to the finish. They had an 8-0 run to start, and they led the whole way. Northwest, on the other hand, they played CVCA, a team that they lost to twice in the regular season. Neither of those losses were blowouts or anything like that. Both close losses, so I think you came into this game still expecting a really good competitive outcome. But Northwest was down most of that game, and they came back in the fourth quarter to seal a victory. But when you look at it, Northwest, they were a more versatile team, I think, than CVCA in that game. I talked about this on Wednesday when we were talking about the recaps of Tuesday's action. CVCA had 7 3-pointers for 21 points. One shot went in from inside the 3-point line for another 2, and then 4 free throws. Did I get that math right for 27? Yeah. 21, 4 free throws, 1 2-pointer. So they had one shot from the Royals that went in inside the 3-point line, but they hit 7 threes, and they played really hard defense for most of that game. Northwest kind of found some crevices in the defense in the fourth quarter, but it was still a 30-point defensive effort. Like, both those teams were just going at it, and I think a product of that was they were so familiar with each other. They knew exactly what the other team really loved to do. I think they both had players that are going to give any team they play kind of problems. I think the issue you saw in that game was that both teams kind of knew exactly what those players did. I mean, they'd seen each other twice. They'd played each other, in the same conference for years. So it was just like, hey, we know you, you know us. We know how to stop you. You know how to stop us. Sometimes when really good defensive teams get into that, it can turn into a really slow, every point is really good earned. It kind of reminded me of watching the Salem versus Marlington battles, where like offense was not just hard, but it was at a premium to the point when if you scored, it was a celebration because we had to work so hard to see that bucket. So it reminded me of that kind of matchup. Really familiar, 2 really good defenses familiar with each other. Now it's going to be interesting because Northwest not familiar with Canfield. They haven't played them twice. Can their defense hold up the way they did against CVCA? It's a great defense. I'm not saying that Canfield is going to come out and shoot the lights out on them, but they struggled giving up the 3. They gave up 7 3-pointers against CVCA, and Canfield loves to shoot the 3. I don't know. Canfield, maybe they have an opportunity, but they better do something inside the 3-point line too. They can't do what CVCA did and have 21 of their 27 points come from 3. That won't win the game, but Canfield can shoot, and Northwest gave up a handful of shots. That's all. That's like the biggest key to watch, obviously, is always how you defend Canfield's perimeter game. They can shoot the lights out. We know that very well from watching them all season. Abby McElroy leads them with 51 made threes, but Carly Harmon, 34. Treveri can shoot. Solly can hit a 3. She actually opened up that Salem District Championship game with a 3, even though she's known for her drive. She can shoot the 3. We've seen Kalina make 3s. It's a 3-point shooting team. They usually have at least 3 players on the floor at once that can all shoot pretty well from distance. So, tough to defend that if you struggle defending the 3. Northwest, for the most part against CVCA, played a zone. And zones give up shots. Question is, can Canfield hit them? That's going to be the big, can Canfield hit the shots? I think they're going to get them. I think they're going to get their shots. But can they hit them? That'll be the big storyline from tonight in Barberton. I can't wait to be on the call. 7 o'clock is your tip-off there. But let's go into the district championships on the boys' side before we get off into what's coming up tomorrow on both sides as well. So in Warren Harding, we already talked about South Range going up against Lutheran East. It'll be Noah Ricks on the call there. 7 o'clock is your tip-off in Warren Harding. A beautiful gym, by the way. Really cool gym to be in. If you've never been to Warren Harding, I don't know how you're kind of area sports fan. I mean, it's not exactly far away. Head on down to Warren Harding, check out the Raiders and Lutheran East. In Salem, the Quaker Dome, Menor Lake Catholic and Cardinal Moody are going to square off. Moody coming off that really dramatic district semifinal win where Ashton O'Brien hit the game-winning free throws with 1 second left to give the Cardinals the win there, and they will play Menor Lake Catholic in this game in Salem. Warren JFK plays Dalton at Struthers. That is going to be a really good game. Dalton, really, really strong team, and they kind of took it to Lowell in the semifinals. Really good defense. They definitely have players that know how to score. They're a well-rounded basketball team. Warren JFK, I think, has the scheduling edge a little bit. They've played a tougher schedule, but Dalton's no slump. This should be a really good basketball game in Struthers tonight, and it will be Dom O'Brien, as always, on the call. Eric Hughes going to be joining him, so you're going to have a tandem at Struthers in the field house. Get your popcorn ready. That field house popcorn hits different, that's for sure. The last district excuse me. Last district championship tonight is going to be Cornerstone Christian versus Badger at Grand Valley. Matt Morrison will have the call there. It's going to be the second time that a Cornerstone Christian basketball team is playing in a district championship in Grand Valley in the last week. Their girls were there last week against Springfield. Obviously, their boys are trying to avenge that, but Badger wants nothing to do with that story. They want to get a win. Matt Morrison will be on the call down there. It's going to be a 7 o'clock tip from Grand Valley. Let's go into tomorrow. We have another regional final. In the girls' side, is Springfield will now take on Buckeye Central at Maslin Perry. It'll be a 7 o'clock tip-off, and Noah Doty will have the call there. It's an interesting tidbit. Interesting stat. The last time we have had exactly two teams go into a state tournament back in the 80s. I want to get the exact date. But it was back in the 80s. The last time we had exactly two teams reach the state tournament, and it was 87? Yeah, it was Wellsville and LeBray in 87. Just two. Now, we had more than two in 2003 and 2004 that season, because West Branch and Salem and Ursuline were all in the state tournament. So we've had three, but we've either had three or one in our history up until 87. We've never had exactly two. Last team to make win a regional, of course, in the area in the YSN family was McDonald back in 2021. They actually went to the state championship game that year. Some state champions that we have, as we're talking about teams that are trying to get to state. 2004, West Branch won it. Ursuline won it in 2004 as well in girls basketball. Struthers has a win in 1978. State runners up. West Branch fans are screaming because they want to count 2020, and that's their right to count that because, they got there. They never got to play to see who's going to win it. They have the state banner in the gym. So if you're inclined, you can count that as well. West Branch as far as a state championship. We also have state runners up in 2021 with McDonald, 2006 with Ursuline. Canfield got there in 2001. Got there in 1991 as well with McDonald in 91. Brookfield in 1990. And Wellsville in 87 who lost to LeBray. So we've had plenty of teams kind of get there. Canfield's trying to be the first one since McDonald did it in 21, and their first in the program since 2001 for Canfield. So it's going to be a fun show tonight in the Purple Palace. And Springfield trying to do it for the first time ever as a girls basketball team. They'll play Buckeye Central on Saturday. Then we have boys got some programs going for their first district in program history with South Range, and then we got some other programs trying to get back to regional. So it's going to be a fun time on the network. We do have boys games tomorrow. Let me get to those. I almost forgot them because I got sidetracked with that little history lesson with girls basketball in the state tournament. Let's go into the boys games that are tomorrow before we get out of here. I know we're in overtime a little bit, but that's okay. It's a Friday, right? So taking you into your weekend on tomorrow for boys district championships, we'll have Nordonia versus Akron Hoban at Twinsburg. Ty Bartel will be on the call. 2 o'clock is your start time there. 7 o'clock, we have East Liverpool versus Maysville in Indian Valley. Nate and Rob Kelly will be on the call there. And then at 4 o'clock, Caney versus Canfield at Boardman. It'll be Jamie Thompson on the call there at 4. And then we have Ursuline and Gilmore Academy at 4 o'clock in Notre Dame Cathedral Latin. Dom O'Brien will be making the trip there for the call. Chardon is your city. I remember yesterday I couldn't remember what city Notre Dame Cathedral Latin was in, and I had to kind of let it by the wayside there in Chardon. So with that being said, we will say farewell for today's episode of Running Point. We thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy all the games tonight. Remember, one payment of $9.99 gets you access to all of the games that are going to be on the network tonight for tournament action. Do not pay for anything more. There are no subscriptions. Don't fall for the links that pop up on these social media websites. That's all I have to say. And if you don't know that by now, then I don't know. You haven't been watching tournament games. Thank you so much, though, again, for tuning in today. We'll take the weekend break. Be back on Monday from 1 to 2.